Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here. In today's video, we are going to talk about 3 Pokemon items I sold way too soon. As always, Catch 'em All Collectibles presentation style video. This is the outline. There will be timestamps in the comments if you would like to time travel. I know I can rant and ramble. The 3 items. So the first 3 things I will show you are the 3 items I sold too soon. One is sealed, one is slabs, one is singles. I could make a video of 100 things I sold too soon. We are sitting at the current peak of the Pokemon hobby, as far as I would consider, all things considered. Does that mean it will be the all-time peak? I don't think so. I hope not. But for obvious reasons, like there are tons of things in the past that I've sold that are way higher than they are now. But yeah, that's what today's video is. I will link above. If you didn't see it, I made a video a month or 2 ago of the 3 things I held too long. We are currently booming. And there's a lot of people out there looking at their collections, looking at their cards, and they're thinking like, well, in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, I might do one of 2 things. I might look back and I might say, I held this way too long. And well, there's a video for you. I linked it before. I did it. I've done it with a lot of things. I'll do it with more in the future. And maybe they will look back and they say like, I sold that way too soon. I can't believe I sold that box, that item, that slab, and then it 10x later, and it's never been lower. That was the all-time low relative to forward-looking from the day I made the transaction. So yeah, 11 years in the hobby. I've sold millions of dollars worth of Pokemon cards. I've sold many tens of thousands of individual transactions. It is just going to happen. What do you do with the information? I'll have a little bit of a conversation around what to do and what not to do with the information. And then I'll talk about some upcoming videos as I do from time to time. And then I'll close it out. So item number 1, XY Evolutions booster boxes. I've teased for a long time, and I spent 45 minutes looking through PayPal files, and I didn't have an Instagram at the time, looking through emails, looking through my current eBay account that I primarily sell on, and I've done private PayPal sales, and I used to do E4 DMs, and all the information is spread out in so many places. One video that I've teased for a long time is how I paid off my house with XY Evolutions. And looking back, honestly, my memory is not amazing. Looking at the timing, so here are the 3 wires that I made to pay off my house. I bought my house in November of 2019, and just before the anniversary, just before November of 2020, I paid off my house, the final $15,860.55 chunk. These were all wire transfers to my my lender, my mortgage lender. And I did it in chunks. Well, I don't need to turn this into a bank grant video. But anyways, I wanted to see what Evolution's price did it coincide with. So up here is me paying off my house. And down here, October 2020 to December 2020, these are 5 random cases. These are not every case that I had. Obviously, these amounts of money don't total up to these wires up above. But these are some of the transactions I found in my PayPal. I found some random ones in eBay. I found some, like, they were all over the place. Some I did in bulk. But the timing of a lot of these, you'll see, my final payment was made in November 12th, 2020. 3 of these predated that. 2 of these were after that. In my mind, again, my memory is not perfect. In my mind, I paid off my house with like $500 Evolutions booster boxes. Clearly, that wasn't exactly how it went. XY Evolutions was around $400 a box at the time that I paid off my house, given that I sold one for just under $400 a box shortly before I made that final wire, and just over $400 a box not too long after that. And so yeah, my memory is a little bit faulty. Money's fungible though. So like I know between October to November of 2020, I probably would have sold 30 to 60 grand. Like it's a wide number, I know. I truly don't remember how much I sold of it at the time. But I sold most of it before $3,000 cases. I know I sold some. I anecdotally, I remember a $3,000 sale. I remember $35.99.99, which would correlate to a $600 box. I want to say I had like one holdout that I sold for like a $5,000 case. I never sold a case for $6,000 that I can remember. But yeah, those clearly were happening later than I remembered. So if I ever, I don't think I'm ever going to go. A video that I've teased for probably 2 years, paying off my house with XY Evolutions. partially because it wasn't entirely true. It would have only been a portion of it. Maybe I only paid off a quarter of my house with XY Evolutions because my memory failed me. I apologize. This is 2025 Dan, apologizing you for the last couple of years. But I had a lot of them. This in the middle, let's go ahead with the 4 cases at 105 each box. So on Tuesday, September 1st, 2020, I found in my email an email to my rep. I bought 4 cases of Evolutions for, doing the math, $630 each. I bought 4 of them. So, I mean, again, cases are semi-fungible. They're not as fungible as dollars. But I bought 4 cases on September 1st, 2020 for 105 each a box. These were not the only 4 cases I bought. Looking through my email, it's like I bought 4 and I bought 4 and I bought 8 and I bought 12 and I bought a lot of them between May and September. I want to say my last purchase was mid to late September of 2020. I don't think I could find any on October, but I bought many in September, and then they went out of stock, and then this is what started happening, what you see over here. And unfortunately, we don't have the resolution, we don't have the history. This is price charting. Shout out to price charting, Data and Collector and eBay and Terapeak and all these different websites that compile price charts. I didn't have a YouTube at the time either. Had I had a YouTube, it would have been a lot easier to know. I would have said, hey, I just paid off my house. I just paid off my house with XY Evolutions and with this and with that and the other thing. And I was selling a lot of my slabs. at the time. So I don't know exactly how to account for all this $125,000, but a decent chunk of it was Evolutions. Continuing on though, today's price, as of today, price charting, it's like an $1,800 box right now. It is crazy to me. I still have one, so I saved one. This is one item that I never intend to allow to leave my personal collection. This is, I guess it's tainted a little bit because in my mind, I had paid off most of my house. I knew I didn't pay off my whole house with it, but in my mind, significantly more than half of the house was directly paid for with that. Now, I know it's a little bit different. It's like, maybe I'll just sell that when it hits $2,000. But I sold a lot of it, and hindsight's super easy. It is very easy to say, like, when I was selling it October 12th for $2,084, I could have gotten 20% more waiting 2 months and selling it in December. And I in hindsight, like, this is one thing that I'll start to do what to do with this information throughout the video, I guess. And then I'll talk about it more in that slide. But, like, I can't feel that bad because at some point it did hit, price charting is not perfectly accurate. At some point it hit like $1,000 in that 2020-21 timeframe. And then it kind of whittled down from like 1,000 to 700 or so. All but that one box of mine were sold before it hit 1,000. I don't recall selling any $6,000 cases, but $6,000 cases were sold somewhere in here. So looking at that price, looking at today's price, it's very easy to say, like, that's an 80% increase in 4 years. What in my buckets? What in my S&P 500, in my 401k? What of that 80% gained? What of that? What could you reasonably expect? Like, in 4 years, that's a compound annual growth rate. I had to pause really quickly and look at it as I said that, but the S&P 500 in the past 5 years has returned to 86%. So XY Evolutions was a lot flatter for a lot longer. It kind of gave back 30%. To be fair to it, I guess if it bottomed out around like 700 and then it shot to over 1,800, that's more than doubling. So anyways, part of me could easily say that I sold this too soon. I could have made tens of thousands of dollars more waiting 2 months. I could have made tens of thousands more than that waiting till early 2021. I don't know exactly when it peaked at that 1,000, but we'll get to it more in the slide when it is time to do it. I don't regret it. And you can't regret it. You can't look back in a negative way on things like this. But you can make the argument that I sold this too soon. Part of why I did it, the peace of mind, my head hitting my pillow every night since November 12th, 2020. I've had no student loans. They were paid off before that. I've had no car loans. They were paid off before that. I've had no mortgage. I have no debt to my name aside from recurring balances on my credit cards to get paid in full, statement balance every month. No interest paid. So every day, every night, Since November 12th, 2020, I've had no debt. I've been in debt to no one. So that's like a massive peace of mind thing. And one thing that, like, if I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't have quit my job. I wouldn't have allowed myself to go into such a speculative space, such as Pokemon, which hindsight, it's panned out really well. So me selling these enabled me to quit my job and do everything that I've done since. So no regrets that we'll touch on later. This one though, this one feels a little bit different. This one's very interesting. So I'll link it above, but here's a video that I made a couple years ago. 10 years of selling on eBay. And I recapped every year from 2014 to 2023. I did my biggest 3 sales of the year and my biggest 3 buys of the year. So one thing you'll see, PSA 9 Gold Star set in 2020, March of 2020. I had to tell you March because clearly it was before the big boom started. It was before the pandemic, all that stuff. $12,750. Here, this is not the time that I sold it, but I almost sold my PSA 9 Gold Star set in October of 2019. And at the time, I went through eBay. I went through all the different websites, low list, last sold, lowest buy now. So as of October 3rd, 2019, the low list, you could go on eBay and you could buy them all for $15,200. You could click buy it now, add them to your cart, buy them, they'd be there within a week. You could get them all on eBay for 15 grand. The last sold, eBay and elsewhere, the SPN Gold Star was missing, but I believe I filled in. Maybe I forgot to fill it in, but I think I think I put something there. Anyways, $12,000 approximately were the last solds, and the lowest buy now was $12,785. So low list, last sold, and then the lowest buy now. I don't know what the distinction is between low list and lowest buy now. Maybe this was done at 2 slightly different times. This actually might have been the lowest buy now, where it says there. That might have been in March. So maybe they drifted. Anyways, I don't really know exactly what that extra column is. But here is, yeah, so there's 2 separate times here. This must have been October 2019, and then one of these was October and one of them was March when I actually made the sale. So I want to say October 2019 was actually the right 2 columns here. March when I sold it, March of 2020 when I sold it, it was here. That's why I arrived at 12,750, because it was above the last sold by a few percent and it was lower than the low list. So me and the buyer at the time were negotiating, and that's where we arrived. Yeah, so sorry for the mix up there on the data, but yeah, this would have been October 2019 when I almost sold it. At the time, the low list in October was 9,800. The lowest buy now at the time was 12,785. So you can see that there was a decent appreciation. There was a solid, 10,000 to 12,000. There was a solid 20, a little bit over 20% appreciation in the 5 months between October 2019 and March of 2020. So latest, just before I recorded this video, I was at Collecticon Charlotte this past weekend, so I recorded it over a week ago on August 3rd. August 2nd, I pulled the prices. $174,500. So that's like a 15x from what I sold it. That's a 15x from what I sold it in the span of 5 years. And if you take further context, I don't have the timestamps for it. If you go a year ago, what the set was, it would be higher than when I sold it, but it wouldn't be like this. Most of that 15x has happened in the past, like 6, 7, 8x has probably happened in the past 12 months, if not 6 months. So this is one that it's easier to say, more easy than the last one. It's more easy to say that I sold this too soon. And it's very easy to look at it and say like, man, I could have 15x my money. But one thing that I always say is like, what did you do with the money instead? And we'll talk about it more when I get to the 4th slide. But I'll actually address it right here because I show them on the screen. So one of my big buys in March was a 2014 #1 Pikachu. And I look back in my files. So I bought that in March of 2020 for $20,000, approximately. 19,500, 20,000. I don't remember the exact number. It was from the winter. And it came with all the stamped festivals. It came with the champion stamp all the way down to the top 32. And I sold those off over the next years. I don't remember exactly what I sold those for or how much, but I got my cost basis down for the number one to 12 to 15 grand, say, somewhere in there. So, and I ended up selling it. I ended up selling it in 2022. I look back in my files. I look back when that wire came in. I sold it for $100,000. I think I publicized that at some point. Maybe I haven't, but I sold it for $100,000. And I sold it in November-ish of 2022. So in 2.5 years, I went from 12 to 15,000 to 100,000. I 8x'd in a little bit over 2 years. So it feels kind of bad in a lot of ways that I missed out on a 15x across 5 years, but I outperformed it in many ways because I sold it then and I immediately put that money into the number one Pikachu, which I sold in 2022. And I did have a YouTube in 2022. I didn't directly do this because, again, money's fungible. I sold it 100,000. Some amount of that went towards all different kinds of things. Some amount of that went towards buying my new business vehicle. Some amount of that went towards buying some of the sealed product I was buying at the time. But had the money gone into something that 2x'd, that would have brought me from the 7, 8x up to the 15x that the Gold Stars did. So I likely significantly outperformed what I would have had I just sat on the cards. So again, not regretting it, but it does make you feel some kind of way. When I see that I sold the whole set for $12,750, the last Umbreon, the last Espeon were nearly that. The last Charizard alone, Charizard Gold Star, eclipsed alone what I sold the entire set for only 5 years ago. So did their Rayquaza, $23,000. Back in my day, that was a $1,000 card back in my day. Multiple. I didn't handle like 10 of those or anything, but I probably handled 2 or 3 Rayquaza Gold Stars, and I probably handled them all between like $2,000 and under. You can see that's one that made a big move. So from October 2019 to March of 2020, that one made a significant move. Some of these are significantly more flat. But yeah, crazy times. Crazy times to look back in my files. It's hard. It's choppy. Multiple email addresses my eBay used to feed to. These days it's Instagram and Discord and different emails and different bank accounts. Like all these things just funnel across so many different places. It's hard to compile these things. But it is fun. It is fun to look back. Item number 3. So we did I said I was going to do 1 sealed, 1 set of slabs, 1 set of singles. I've actually got it. I've got it right here. Can anyone guess? Can anyone guess what the card is going to be? Let me go full screen for a second. Let me know in the comments what the card is going to be. Oh, what did I do? I didn't advance my slide. The Pikachu with gray felt hat. This one is crazy. I bought a case with John, Pokemon Radar. I bought a case of them, 400 of them, in October of 2024. It has been 10 months, and they're pretty much all gone. I made this video. I will link the video above, recapping the entire play, recapping the entire, breaking it down, selling them all, grading them all. They weren't all sold at the time. So as of at the time, there were 2 BGS 10s that were not yet sold. There were a handful of other cards that were not yet sold. So add to this an additional 10, 15,000, and maybe 15, 20,000 in sales we've made since. But that mostly covered it. Had we just kept the case sealed, had we not done any of the work to grade, sell any of them, had we just kept the case sealed, so we did 4x our money. But like the premium we paid on it, what the raw cards are going for now, 400, like they'd be worth, having done all the work, they'd be worth slightly more than what we sold it for, having done all the work, having taken all the risk, grading them, yada yada, adding in all the fees. And had we just cracked open the case today, and had we started making the play today, thinking of the potential gains we could have had, like not just taking the raw sealed prices, not just taking what they're going for as is, ungraded. Had we started grading today, if the price continues to go up, or if it stays flat for a while, what this could have been, again, no regrets whatsoever. I've plowed the money into useful endeavors. The streaming operation, I've done really good things with the money, but it is like, man, hindsight is easy. We could have bought more cases. We could have finished this case now, and then we could have planned on doing one case and then cracking the next case when the first one was done. And imagine if we bought 238. Like, it's not worth dwelling too much on, and I'll go there. So what? So what do you do with this information? It's it's kind of fun. It's kind of entertaining to look back. I've been here 11 years. I've bought and sold PSA 9 base first edition Charizards for $1,000. I've sold Gold Star sets for $12,000. I assembled that Gold Star set. I probably assembled that Gold Star set for like $4 grand, or not, probably not even $4 grand. Some of them were ones that I pack pulled when I opened every box. I made a video about that. Some of them I bought for fractions. Some of them I probably paid nearly, like, I don't remember the last Gold Star that I got to finish my set, the exact timing of that. Probably would have been 2017, 2018 time frame. But some of those could have been slightly flat. I don't know if any of them would have been down. But no regrets. No regrets. Once my buckets are full, going back to the buckets that I always talk about, once these financial buckets are full, once my 401k match, paying down my debt free, all that stuff, once all that stuff's taken care of, I don't try to sell to just give myself a taxable gain. Like, this goes into if you're cash basis or accrual basis, it's a different scenario. But say your cash basis, how most people are. If you have a card that's appreciated a bunch, and say you sell that Gold Star set for $12,750, if you sell it and then just end the year with all that money in your bank account, now you have a big taxable gain. So you're going to realize some profits, and you're going to have to give a bunch to Uncle Sam. But if you have a reason to sell, maybe you sell to pay off your house. Maybe you sleep better at night. Maybe you get a tangible benefit, less stress every day of your life into eternity in the future after that. Maybe you get the freedom, you get the runway, you get the financial foundation built to quit your job and take a big leap of faith, take a big risk. Maybe you sell your Gold Star set and you buy a trophy card. Maybe you check off that goal. You ascend that, you hit the peak, you hit the summit of like what your collection, you roll your collection into something else that you've never owned before. And maybe that pans out really well for you. Maybe you sell the gray felt hats and you buy a ton of loose 151, ton of Crown Zenith pack, ton of things that end up panning out in the future. Maybe they don't too. Maybe you try starting a business and you fail, but like, hey, at least you tried. But every time in my situation, the proceeds went into something meaningful. And oftentimes they had large returns of their own. So truly no regrets. One thing I added here too, I've said this many times before and I'll never stop saying it. In hindsight, it's very easy to beat yourself up because like, oh man, I sold my Gold Star Rayquaza for $5 grand and then 6 months later it was 10. Or I sold my Mario Pikachu Full Art. I owned 2 or 3 of those personally at one point. I consigned a bunch of them too. I owned 2 or 3 personally when that was a $6,000 card. And I sold them for break even, like 3 months, 4 months later. Now they're $14,000. But again, you can't beat yourself up. Just because it went up doesn't mean you were wrong to have sold them. I likely outperformed what it would have done holding them anyways. But even if I hadn't, even if you're someone who's full-time, otherwise you're not full-time Pokemon, even if you sold your Evolving Skies cases when they were $2,000 and you didn't do something better with the money, you made the best decision for you at the time that you could have made with all the information you had, and it didn't end up panning out to be like correct. But don't conflate the outcome with the correctness of the decision. A lot of people do this. A lot of people think like price went up, or I made money, so I was right. I missed out on making money, so I was wrong. That's not always the case. You can go to the casino, you can put it all on quad zero or double zero, and you can 35x your life savings. That made you money if you hit it, but most people don't. And that was mathematically a negative EV situation. And it's very easy to, conflate outcome with correctness of decision. And one thing that I'll go further, say I wasn't full-time Pokemon, say that I had a Gold Star set and I put that money, $12,750. I didn't buy a trophy with it. I didn't sell the trophy later for more money. Say I just put it into a money market fund. Say I put it in the SP 500. Say I did whatever with it. And I had no like, oh, well, at least I did this. You probably would have sold. You probably wouldn't have sold when it was $175,000. If you decided to sell at 12,750, you probably would have sold when it was 25 grand, when it was 30 grand for the set, when it was 50 grand for the set, when it was 100 grand for the set. What are the odds that you would have held it until today when it's 175 for the set? Very unlikely. I own some Bitcoin. I own some Bitcoin that I first bought when it was $300. Thankfully, my net worth, my finances have like outpaced to where I initially bought it. It was a 3-figure buy, and it grew to 4 or 5 figures. And then I put a little bit more in, I sold a little, and I bought a little. I bought and sold it a few times, but it never got to a number where it would have been like life-changing for me. Because the first thing that happened was like I paid off my house with Pokemon, and I paid off my student loans with chemical engineering money, and I paid off my my car, my wife and I paid off our cars with our salary, our income. So if I were in different shoes, if I was in a different situation, and many other people, between $300 Bitcoin is when I first owned Bitcoin. I first owned Bitcoin at 300. Had I bought 100 of them, I couldn't say I'd have $100 million today. Well, $10 million today. I'm doing the math wrong. I couldn't say that, because realistically, I would have sold them when they first would have paid off my car, when they next would have paid off my student loan. I would have done those things sooner through the use of Bitcoin. One guy bought a pizza with 10,000 Bitcoin because it was an interesting thing and it had no real value at the time, and blah, blah, blah. But like, don't beat yourself up, because even if you didn't sell when you did, had you held it for longer, you would have sold at so many points in between along the path. The most Bitcoin I think I've ever held is like 1.5 or 2. I'm not significantly far off my all-time high Bitcoin holding, but yeah, as of today where I'm at, it's just not super meaningful to me. It would be a lot of money, but a lot of it would go to taxes and yada yada yada. But I would have sold multiple times over between when I did and between there, and you would have too. Be honest with yourself. If you're gonna beat yourself up over, I had it at 12.75 and now it's 175. Be honest with yourself at what points you would have actually sold it. Very rarely do people actually hold them for like the full gain, and that might not be the full gain. That might be $500,000 in 5 years. That might be $1 million in 10 years. And maybe I'll make this video, maybe I'll recap it again, but that's everything I have for today. So as I'm recording this, I just got back from Charlotte ClareCon. That recap video will be next week. As I talked about last week in last week's video, the time buckets, 10 cards that were at all-time highs that I called in December of 2022. I will recap that. I will tell you where I was right, where I was wrong, where I think it will go in the future. The whole vouch scam sphere that goes on Facebook and Reddit and this and that. Pokemon market hot takes. And as always, if you have any suggestions for a video, let me know. Leave me your suggestions and I will do my best. I have a live document on Google Docs. Anytime I get a shower thought, anytime I'm mowing the lawn and I get an idea, I put it in there. There are pages and pages of videos that I'll probably never make because they just fall off my radar or whatever. But I've got dozens and dozens of ideas. But sometimes a viewer will give me one that's like, hey, that's really timely. That's really like a good evergreen idea. That's a good idea I never would have thought of or haven't thought of so far. So sometimes those skip the line and sometimes they come out really quickly after people suggest. But yeah, if you made it all the way, I very much appreciate that. Hope everyone's having a great summer. We're getting to the close of it. But let me know. Let me know in the comments what are the things that you sold too soon, and ideally maybe you sold your gold stars too soon, but what did you buy with that? Did you buy peace of mind? Did you buy financial freedom? Did you buy, like, you sold it and maybe there was none of that? Let me know if you care to share. If not, that is fine too. I will end before we get to 30 minutes. As always, I appreciate you all watching. Go check out my website. The hot buy list is back up as of today. But yeah, I will catch you all later.